and our weekly video segment to take you into the back shelves of your local video store, back where it says horror videos, and where kids are devouring some awful films that we call the video nasties.
Are you freebasing? Inquiring minds want to know.
I have to break free from this culture of mechanical reproductions and the thick incrustations dying on the surface.
Fuck the prime time, bitch!
Monmouth in the flesh.
The pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite. As for our deaths, come with me and be immortal.
We have such sights to show you.
Gotta return some videotapes.
Happy Halloween, horror hounds, and welcome to the It Slays podcast. I'm your humble host, Rowan.
And I'm your Zesty Ranch Corn Nuts, Mike.
Woof! It's Jill.
And we are back broadcasting live from, is it a show? Barry Sims' radio show, or Barry, seems like he has his own channel in the film tonight. But yeah, and we are Coltonless. Colton's still in France, but not really. It's like French, but not really. I don't really know how to explain it. Get a map. Look.
It's Dollarama, France.
Dollarama, France. That's rude for the people that live there, but
we sincerely apologize if anybody from St. Pierre Miquelon is listening.
It'll be cold.
Cut the cameras, dead ass.
So he's gone again, but I'm sure he will be back. So it's just the three of us holding this spot down. Hopefully, you guys will be getting this episode a couple days before Halloween. So hopefully everyone is prepared, has their costume, has their candy, all that good stuff. Let's talk about, though, what we have been consuming, what have we been watching, what have we been listening to, what have we been reading, all that good stuff. Jill, we're going to start with you.
Okay, for reading, I literally, haven't been reading at all, but I just, finished Frankenstein, finally, and, I really, really enjoyed it, 5 stars. Just love the writing, and the story is so good.
People are going to be so excited to get your reviewing, because I think people have been waiting a really long time to find out if it's good or not, whether they should pick it up.
Yeah, it is really good. And
Mary Shelley just literally was the blueprint. It's wild that this, essentially teenage girl, they went on... Okay, so we have this... are me and a couple of my friends that I've been friends with since we were 20, we refer to it erroneously because this is something that didn't exist at the time, but whenever we talk about that retreat that they did where they all kind of wrote horror stories and it was the seed of all those stories and stuff, we call it Mary Shelley's Quaaludes weekend. And if we have really crazy weekends where back when we were young and would do lots of bad things over the weekend and have really debauched weekends, we'd always call it Mary Shelley's Quaaludes weekend. And I just love that Mary Shelley's Quaalude weekend, she fucking birthed all horror, all sci-fi. 70% of horror and sci-fi comes from that.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, just what a woman.
I know. That's always been crazy to me, too. They had their little competition, and she won by writing Frankenstein. We should do that sometime. We should just, have a weekend of debauchery, but we also, write something, and then we read it, and then we see who wins. Maybe we can make the next Frankenstein.
Yeah, we'll have a Mary Shelley's second Quaaludes weekend.
Yeah, so someone's got to get Quaaludes.
It's just so funny, though, because, if we took Quaaludes, we would not be doing anything. You know what I mean? We'd all, be asleep.
Or we'd come out of it and we'd find out that we just literally copied Frankenstein from the pages and just rewrote it on paper or something, typed it up.
I would be cool with, a story kind of based on it, a reimagining.
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of horror is just a reimagining of Frankenstein.
It's true. Very true.
So, we could. But yeah, the book is really good. I had only read the graphic novel before, which is a very condensed version of the novel, the one that I read. But there's just like, you don't get the prose. You don't get all of Mary Shelley's like super descriptive writing. And it just captures that like dark gothic tone. I don't know. It's amazing. I had a good time. It's only like 207 pages.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and the language is not that like old that it's hard to understand. So yeah, definitely check it out. It's and I know a lot of people have read it in high school, but I didn't get to. So yeah. So that's the only thing I read. Before I get on to what I watched, I want to talk about what I did the past 2 days because it's very Halloween related. So today I just got back from the pumpkin patch. I went with my dog and I got some cute pictures with her and got a bunch of pumpkins and bought some tasty things at like the farmer's market there. So it was just really nice because I don't know, where I lived in Newfoundland, like we didn't have any of this kind of Halloween stuff, you know, like festive, like fall stuff, unless you live around a farm that does that. So that was cool. And then last night I went to this like haunted hayride close to where I live. And they also have like a couple of haunted attractions that you can go through, and they have like live scare actors and all that. It's actually really close to my house. So I did that last night. It's called the Valley of Fear. And like the prosthetics and the makeup that they have there is really crazy. So that was really fun. Had a good time. And for what I've been watching, today I watched Ready or Not finally because I had never seen it.
Me either.
Yeah, I've never seen it either.
Oh my God, we should not be admitting this out loud.
I know.
I know, because like it's really popular, right?
Yeah.
And it's by the same people who did like Abigail, which I also just recently watched. It's kind of the same idea, except Abigail has a vampire, you know? And this is the same kind of thing like Agatha Christie, Eat the Rich. And I thought it was really funny and fun and just ridiculous. And I liked it a lot better than Abigail. So like check it out for real. On Straight Jacket Talk, we just did Trick or Treat.
Very
one of my
nice.
favorite
Your fave.
Halloween movies. Yeah. So I watch that every year now since we covered it on this podcast because I just love it. I think it's the perfect Halloween movie. So if you want to see what I had to say about that this time, go check that video out. And also we had a costume party when we filmed the video. So you can go see my little Frankenhooker costume.
Oh, yeah.
That's fantastic.
She dropped in the group chat. It's so funny. What was that, like 2 weeks ago? Jill just drops her fucking Amazon order in the group chat and she's like, guess what I'm dressing up as?
Yeah, I got a purple wig. It's hot.
Yeah.
I like it.
It went from regular hooker to, oh, wait, no, Frankenhooker.
Yeah, I want to be a dead hooker. Like, that's just up my alley. I was telling my hairdresser what I was going to be for Halloween, and she was like, of course you are. I was like, yep.
It's very on brand.
Exactly. I watched The Blob for the first time.
How nice.
The 80s one?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, Shawnee Smith. I love that one.
I've also never seen that. I've owned it I've owned it forever. I've owned it for like probably like 6 years and I've never watched it.
Wild.
It's ridiculous. You would love it.
Yeah, I know I would.
It's
Everyone loves it.
like such a Roe movie. Like,
Yeah, you would freaking love it. I also watched VHS Beyond and I'm obsessed with it. I'll probably rewatch it sometime soon because it was just really good. I don't know. I liked all the different stories for the most part. You know, aliens. And they did it, and they did it well. And apart from that, I also watched the New Salem's Lot, which I thought was kind of hot garbage. I think Rowan also is probably going to mention that later.
So I only watched because, obviously how the sausage is made. We were originally going to do that, a couple that we watched for Now Slains, and when I found out we weren't doing it, I watched like the beginning, and then I haven't gone back to it.
It's not really worth it. Just go watch the old one.
There's a reason that it was like in production hell for like years and years and years.
Yeah.
This movie's been done for like 4 or 5 years. And I understand it was supposed to be a miniseries, not a movie, and then they cut it to make it a movie.
That's worse. Because it was a long movie. Yeah, don't
So
recommend.
it's just like one movie and not like a two-parter or anything like that?
It's one movie.
How long was it?
I think it's like over 2 hours.
Oh, God, no.
Yeah, it's one of those.
One of those.
It's a slog to sit through that. I watched Terrifier 1 and 2, rewatched, so I could be prepared for Terrifier 3, which I also really liked, and it's probably my new favorite Terrifier movie. I think they just like made it like it was very well paced. I feel like 2 can kind of be a slog, like it gets kind of long.
It's almost 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And I say that because like the only reason I watched the first one is when we covered it. And I liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to, and I've been wanting to watch 2 forever, but I kept putting it off because I'm like, we did number 1, we're probably going to end up doing number 2, so I didn't want to watch it and then like a month later have someone go, oh, we're going to do Terrifier 2, and be like, fuck, I gotta watch it again now.
Yeah.
But then I was like, okay, 3 came out now, we haven't covered it yet, I need to watch number 2. I still haven't, but I was going to watch it one night, like Friday night, when I was like lying on my couch with like 3 glasses of wine already in me, and then I'm like, oh my god, it's like 2 hours and 20 minutes, I cannot do this.
Yeah.
For a slasher movie, no thank you.
Yeah, maybe both of those will be in the near future for us, so you'll get to see it. But I just really love what they did with the Christmas stuff. I think it's hilarious, and I don't know. It was weird because it's also like very kind of Hallmarky. Like sometimes you feel like you're watching a Hallmark movie for real. And at one point, I'm like forgetting that I'm watching a horror movie, and then something really crazy happens. I'm like, oh shit. Like at one point, I thought they like killed this kid. And I was like, oh my god, they totally went there. They killed this kid.
Oh, that's why everybody's talking about, there's all this like discourse online about killing kids in horror movies. I'm like, why is everybody talking about this all of a sudden? Like, it's a horror movie. Kids die in horror movies since the dawn of cinema. Like, now it makes sense. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
who cares?
it's also,
my god.
Some parts are like really, really gory, and they go on for a while. I mean, that's classic, like Terrifier style. But there's like a part where Vicky like slits her wrists in the bathtub, and it's like it's real graphic, and it goes on real long, and I don't know what it is about like slit wrists, but it just like gets me. And I thought that was crazy. But what did you, Rowan, you watched it, right?
Yeah, I did. Another one that we were supposed to do on Now Slaying, and then we kind of dropped the ball on that one. Life's been busy, guys. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, I guess I won't reveal everything I thought about it, because I'm sure we'll get to it. But I mean, I just don't think any have reached the height of the first one for me. I think that's like, the first one is the perfect execution for what the idea of Terrifier is. You know, I respect, you know, trying to build out lore and the length time and having all these gory, you know, gags go on for, you know, sometimes like 10, 15 minutes. And, you know, I appreciate the visual effects, everything. Obviously, Damien Leone is a visual effects guy, so it's him kind of flexing his muscles. But, you know, I think the lore's getting out of hand on them. I think these are way too long for what they are, and it just kind of loses the shock effect after a while for me, where I'm like, oh, okay, like, you know,
you would
when I'm watching an hour and 20 one, you know, similar to like the first one, you know, when we get that like shocking scene of the chainsaw in the first one, like it's this real shock. It's like, and you're like, oh shit, like, and then, you know, the movie is kind of wrapping up and stuff, where this, it's like, you know, it's fun when you're trying to like compete against your last gore gag fest, but I almost prefer that being in a movie beforehand, not like, oh, well, I gotta beat the gore fest that I just did 10 minutes ago.
10 minutes ago, yeah.
And then it just seems like they kind of box themselves in with nowhere to go. And that's all I'll say. I mean, I'm not saying I didn't like it. Because, there's a good time to be had in there. But, yeah,
sure.
That was my thoughts.
So you would prefer Art to be like just like a crazy serial killer clown like in the first one, as opposed to like all the demonic lore they start weaving in afterwards? Kind of.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, maybe it could work, and I see why they kind of need it to like keep making movies, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, to me, I just think that maybe there's almost too much lore to it, and a lot of the lore is really thin, and they don't even follow it, so it doesn't really make sense.
So kind of like the Saw movies.
Yeah, I think, it's one of those like classic mistakes of I'm sure we'll talk about that this evening later on our movie.
I was just gonna say,
it's kind of like some things don't need a lot of explanation, and that's what they decided to do. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, they did the same thing with Halloween 6, like bringing in all that supernatural kind of like cultish satanic lore. So that's funny. Okay, I got 3 more movies. The other ones I watched were Practical Magic. That was my first time watching it.
Nice.
You like it?
Oh, that's such a classic.
Yeah.
It's so weird because like for such a long time it was like one of those random movies that how do I say this delicately, mostly people on the rainbow only liked.
That's
and
fair.
now the last like 3 or 4 years it seems to like be picking up a bit of steam and people are appreciating. I don't know if it's like on TikTok or something, but people are like reading the books more, and like I guess because the new movie is going to be coming out and stuff, and people are like kind of hyped up for it and like going back and revisiting it. So that's really cool. I love that you watched it. Yeah, they're making there's like 5 books in the series. I assume they're basing it on one of the sequels. There's prequels and sequels. So there's like 2 books that come before that story, and then there's like 2 I think that come after. Yeah, they're doing it. They got Sandy and Nicole are like confirmed, I think, back for it.
Oh my god!
For
Thank
sure.
God. Yeah, I love Nicole. It's
such a great movie, and it's just like so underrated.
Yeah, I keep seeing online after watching this, like, all I want in life is to live in the Practical Magic house. And same, like,
yeah, that's a mood.
It's very like similar. It's like the grown-up version of The Craft, but everyone's like actually chill.
Yeah,
ish. I also I saw the TV Glow for the first time.
Nice.
Finally, I wanted to like make sure that I carved out time that I could sit down and like intentionally watch it. And I did, and I thought it was super beautiful. I love the music so much that I actually like went on Spotify, looked it up, and saved it.
I haven't seen the movie yet, but like I have literally been listening to the soundtrack for like 4 months. I'm like, I don't even know, like it's just without context for me. I was like, oh my god, like Caroline Polachek is on it, and like all these other people that I love, and I was like, holy shit, I'm just gonna like listen to the soundtrack because it's a banger. So like when I finally do watch the movie, I'll like know the whole like score.
Yeah, no, I thought it was like really nice visually. It really hits you in the feels. It's that kind of movie. I did prefer We're All Going to the World's Fair that we covered. Because I feel like I could relate to that one a little bit more than this one.
I was the same. Like, I really like I Love TV Glow, but I did feel like I like, even soundtrack wise, like I liked We're All Going to the World Fair a little more.
Yeah, same. And last one I watched was Death Becomes Her, and for the first time, and that and Practical Magic, they're both up there. They're both like
Christ,
so good. I know. And listen,
like,
I'm trying to make myself go back.
No, but like this is good. Like
okay.
I like, okay, so you can't see, but I just literally like fell out of my chair.
I saw that.
I'm so like proud of you because those are like such good movies, and like Death Becomes Her is just so. even though it has like such a cult following, I still think it's underrated because it's so fucking good that it can't possibly be overrated.
Yeah.
And like Meryl, Goldie, like Jesus.
Yes, I love Meryl Streep so much, and I love Any Reason to Kill Men. So, you know, Practical Magic and Death Becomes Her. So good. And also, I'm a big Sabrina Carpenter fan, and one of her music videos is basically like a retelling of Death Becomes Her. So I kind of wanted to watch the source material. But Mike, what have you been up to?
Not as much as you, obviously.
I'm sorry.
I'm like, I have like 3 things on my list.
I think Jill's taking the belt because I'm in the same boat. So
it's been like a rough couple of weeks. So I've been like trying to watch. And here's the funny thing. So I actually, in the last week, I have acquired 2 4K discs, beautiful Steelbook 4K discs of 2 movies that I adore. And I was like, oh my God, this weekend I'm going to like buy some wine and like sit down and watch them and like eat popcorn. And I literally have not touched either of them except to put them in and watch 5 minutes. So one of them was Nightmare on Elm Street, which obviously I've watched 9,000 times. But like, and I even watched it like last year. But the other one was a movie that I love. But I haven't watched it in like 6 or 7 years at least. So I'm really looking forward to the 4K. It's Body Double, Brian De Palma. Like, fucking love that movie, and I can't wait to watch it. So next episode, I'll have like an update on like how it looked and stuff. I've been totally caught up now on Agatha All Along, which is, you know, horror adjacent. My re-entry into Marvel. I'm not going to be watching any of the movies or anything, but I just love like. To me, every episode is just like a big gay out. It's like Patty Lupone, like Sashir, you know, like Catherine Hahn. It's just like Aubrey Plaza. It's just like such a big gay party. So I've actually been loving that. It's really fun. And it's different for me. And in terms of movies, I watched Under Paris because I was on every horror movie on Netflix, which Colton is giving me shit for because
all that shit you talked.
Hated that they fucking forced Joggist on me because shark movies are not my thing. But I agreed to go on, and I agreed to go on before I knew the movie, and I would have gone on anyway, to be honest. But like,
I've got that on my list to watch.
And I'm going to tell you right now, so it is a brand new movie. It just like came out this year on Netflix. And I was fully expecting to like absolutely fucking hate it. And I will say right now, okay, so first of all, there was a very, 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 very extremely distractingly good-looking actor in it. And me and Steven were like texting because we were watching it around the same time. And I was like, I don't even know what happened in the last 20 minutes. Like, I cannot pay attention to the plot of this movie. But it's actually not bad for like a shark movie. A lot of it reminded me of that new Texas Chainsaw Massacre that they put on Netflix. There's some similar themes, even though they're like obviously drastically different movies. And honestly, there was just some beautiful shots in it. Oh, it was like nice. not a bad made movie. I didn't realize until it was almost over. I looked up the director on IMDb and I'm like, oh, the guy that made this like movie about sharks in the Seine in Paris is the man who directed the fucking Hitman video game adaptation in like 2006 or whatever. Like, cool. Masterpiece. Going from masterpiece to masterpiece. Yeah, so honestly, I wouldn't, if you like shark movies, I would recommend it. It was definitely not the worst movie I've seen in recent memory.
That makes sense why Netflix keeps trying to promote and shove in my face that they just uploaded the Hitman movie on Netflix. Yeah. So that makes sense.
Yeah,
if he
because
just did a movie for them. Yeah.
They're pimping out that shark movie too. It's the same guy. Yeah, okay. That's why. Hilarious. They definitely made some deal.
Yeah,
with him, and they're like,
maybe I'll do a double feature because I've never seen the Hitman movie. Also, I know the game, I never played it, but maybe I'll do a double feature, or I'll watch Hitman and then I'll watch the Shark one.
You should. I'm trying to remember who's in it. I think it's like Liev Schreiber or something. I can't remember. I saw like, I don't even think I finished it. I watched like half of it at my friend's house, and we just like kind of started doing other shit and like smoking weed and just not paying attention to it. But yeah, what else have I watched? The only other thing I watched is this awful, but yet can't take my eyes off of it, TV movie. Of course, you know, me and my friend are always watching shitty TV movies. We have our like wine movie night. And last week we put on so you guys probably don't remember because it happened a very long time ago, but there was like the Amy Fisher controversy, and like it happened in the late 80s and like early 90s. Yeah, and I'm just getting the like stares like question mark, crickets. But yeah, so it was this like thing where this like grown ass man in Long Island had an affair with a like high school girl, and she showed up at his house and killed his wife. Oh my God. And it was like huge for like years. Like I was only a kid, but I like vividly remember like every time my parents had the news on, it was like the Long Island Lolita, right? And so they made three. Yeah, it was called the Long Island Lolita. They made 3 movies about it. Her trial, because she went to jail, obviously, for shooting this woman who survived. The trial finished in like December, and by the middle of January, they had 3 movies out about it. One of which she cooperated, and it was like My Story. And then there was 2 that one NBC made and one like CBS or somebody made. So the one I watched had Alyssa Milano starring as her, like very young Alyssa Milano. Okay, camping it up. Oh my God, it was the worst movie ever, but it was so much fun because you could tell this. Okay, so it was 1990. Picture it. A TV movie about this teen girl who killed her grown-ass, like, 40-year-old boyfriend's wife. Or tried to kill, sorry, not killed. And you know that they completely turned that into propaganda. It was all about, like, how she seduced him and he wanted nothing to do with it. And she got jealous and, like, tried to kill the wife and was crazy. And I'm like, this is such fucking Joey Buttafuoco propaganda. It was insane. And then it came out, like, later in a couple years after that, like, obviously he was involved. But at the time, he was like, oh, no, you know, like, she became obsessed with me. And it was very much, like, coming off of the 80s when it was like, oh, yeah, you know, like, people becoming obsessed with, like, successful men and, like, stalking them and ruining their lives. And I'm like, this is such bullshit. Anyway, so it was, like, actually a really fun movie to watch, but, like, in a way that it was, like, disgusting. Because it was very clearly, like, propaganda about this man who we know now was, like... And you can tell, watch it. This man was, like... They showed him all but, like, screwing a fucking teenage girl. Like, it was so disgusting. But, you know, it was like, oh, I'm never going to cross the line. And I'm like, he totally fucking did. Anyway, so me and my friend were, like, drinking wine and, like, screaming at the TV. It was that type of movie. 1990, he said. 1990... I wasn't even born. Milano. It's so much fun. It was, shut up. I was like, Jill's not ever going to have heard of this. But it's on Tubi, so, like, if you're in the mood for, like, a really cheesy, bad, based on, like, true story, awful man propaganda, watch whatever that was called. Hang on now. I don't even remember the name of it because it was so bad. It had, like, 2 titles. Casualties of Love, the Long Island Lolita story. Oh, and I just want to say, before I move on from it, that the other TV movie version of it that they did, guess who played her? You're never going to guess.
Who?
So it was Alyssa Milano was one. Drew Barrymore was the other one.
No way.
Yeah. So now that's next on our list. The next time we have a movie night, we're like, now we got to watch the Drew Barrymore version.
Of course.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah. That was in the period before Drew Barrymore was in, like, Scream and had a comeback. It was kind of like when she was...
Poison
still
Ivy.
Like, ooh, she's the trouble. Yeah, she's exactly the Poison Ivy. I think this was actually the same year as Poison Ivy. It was very much, she's like, oh, you know, Drew Barrymore's like a wild child and, you know, troubled. So, yeah, of course, she was always playing people that they're like, oh, she's promiscuous and evil. Eye roll. Anyway, honestly, that's like pretty much all I've been watching. Ro, you got to have something here.
Yeah, I got a few, not as many as I normally have. So everyone listening can take a breath. You know what? I'll do my kind of spooky watches I've done so far, because obviously I never say much about it, just because in case we review stuff. So one thing that Jill didn't bring up that I know we both watched was VHS Beyond, which is the new VHS.
I did bring that up.
Oh, did you? And then I didn't say anything.
Were you, like, seriously not even paying attention?
She literally even called you out and was like, Ro, I know you're going to want to talk about this.
Oh, okay. Oh, so
wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I'm sorry. Yeah, so I watched VHS Beyond, then we didn't review it. I'm sure we'll review it at some point. And then I did a double feature I kind of kicked off, well, I shouldn't say I kicked off late, because last episode I talked about watching Christine to get in the mood. But, it's been busy. It's been very busy for me to watch horror stuff. So I kicked off a double feature, my first double feature of the month, which was Shaun of the Dead. And I followed that up with Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood.
Ooh, nice. That's a weird double feature.
Very weird. I just couldn't figure out what I wanted to watch, and, I love The New Blood. No one on the podcast really sees me, but, anyone that does see me in person knows that is the Jason I have tattooed on my arm is, zombie Jason from The New Blood. I love the Carrie meets Jason thing going on in that one.
Ro, it's so weird. Did you realize this? I'm going to assume you probably didn't because you didn't mention it, but did you realize that the director of that movie was one of the people that did the effects on this movie?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I was watching the credits and I was like, oh my god, John Carl Buechler. That's the guy who directed one of the best Friday the 13th.
That's
Part
awesome.
7. I was like, oh my god, you must have done that on purpose.
And then, obviously, we already said Terrifier 3. And then just today, this morning, me and Exilia watched The Substance. She hadn't seen it yet. So we watched it. It's still a banger, even the second time seeing it.
It's literally just good. It's going to be one of those that, like, every time you watch it, it gets better.
Yeah. Oh,
I want to see it so bad.
Jill, it's such a you movie. Like,
fuck.
It's gonna gag you. You're gonna gag in every way.
I will just say, because I know it's what are they called? Like Moonbuy. The company Moonbuy is where it is. Mubi, yeah.
Not Moonbuy.
I don't know.
Moonbuy is.
And I know that's pretty much like an impossible streamer to get, like anywhere. So I'll just say, if you look, it is on the internet.
I was going to say, I saw that the other day that there's a not cam version of it online. So.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be a very difficult movie to stream with the rights being where they are. So you might have to either like buy it when it comes out or look other places.
It's worth buying if it goes on iTunes or something. Like 100% spend the $20 or whatever and buy it. Because like Jill, you're going to want a disc of this.
Yeah,
you're gonna I'm telling you right now, if Jill does not get a Substance tattoo, I will eat my own fucking sock. I will.
We shall see.
We'll see.
I'm like, Jill is gonna watch that movie and be like, I need to get a tattoo of this immediately.
Don't tempt me.
And that's really, all I've done for like horror watching. So the stuff that I've been watching that isn't horror. I've been finishing up season 3. I'm a little late on this. Season 3 of Wu-Tang: An American Saga. I'd watched season 1 and 2 like last year, and Disney just didn't have season 3 up forever. And they had it up, so this was the last season. I've been watching it. Not as good, because they obviously only had about 3 episodes of actual story left to talk about. I thought it'd be interesting. So what they've been doing is kind of taking moments of individual members creating their like first solo projects, but making those episodes into mini movies with a theme. So like Jizza making liquid swords, it's like a post-apocalyptic, like AI's taken over, and that's the theme, and it's him creating this album intertwined in the story.
By the way, Liquid Swords, one of the greatest
amazing
albums of all
time.
Yeah.
ODB's first album is like set in the 30s. It's like a 30s gangster film where he's like, this comedian at the speakeasy, and it's, him just still being an old dirty bastard. But that was pretty interesting because a lot of the episodes in the third season are directed by, what's his name, Mario Van Peebles.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, like, it's kind of cool to see him doing stuff. And but yeah, overall
doing stuff.
Overall, I'm not done yet. I still have about like 2 episodes, and this season just like wasn't as good as the other ones, I thought. I also get a chance to check out the Netflix original Will and Harper, which is the documentary Will Ferrell made with his friend Harper. I can't think of Harper's last name now, which was pretty good. It's about, if you don't know anything about it, it's about Will Ferrell and basically a writer that he started with at Saturday Night Live, and they transitioned into a woman like later on in life, basically like when COVID happened, and it's them going on this like cross-country trip and videotaping it, and just, Harper allowing Will to just like ask any question he wants out of ignorance, and just learning about his friend's transition and stuff. And I thought it was pretty good. I thought Ferrell was a little like overpowering. Obviously, when a story like this, it's Harper's story. And just because Will Ferrell's such a big personality, like, he kind of overtakes a lot of it. And then also, like, there was some very like scripted scenes with like Harper's kids and stuff. Like, it was just like very set up. It wasn't very spontaneous, so you didn't really get like those kind of reactions. And it's a lot of, it's about them really like going to like the Bible Belt and stuff, and like going to towns that they think would not be accepting of Harper, and like anything, some are, some aren't. It's worth a watch, at least. It's one of the better things Netflix has put out. I also got a chance, I guess, keeping in the theme. There's all 3 of my non-horror watches connection thread of Saturday Night Live. I also watched Please Don't Destroy, The Treasure of Foggy Mountain, which I liked quite a bit. It is a comedy movie if you're not familiar with them. Please Don't Destroy is the group that basically took over the Lonely Island spot on Saturday Night Live. All Nepo babies. They're all kids from either comedians or writers for like SNL and Conan. But like, I really like these guys. Their humor is very different than the Lonely Island. You can tell these guys are like inspired by like Adult Swim, Tim and Eric, like Eric Andre. Like, there's a lot of just like really odd humor that you don't necessarily see on Saturday Night Live. And yeah, this was a movie that, they basically got funded to make, and it's just as kind of wild and out there as their sketches. And there's lots of, like any of these Saturday Night Live films, like, there's lots of cameo appearances, and Conan O'Brien's in it, and he's hilarious in it. And if you just want like something, the humor's like stupid, you gotta be on board for something wild. It's pretty funny. And then the last thing I watched to end it all off is I went to the theater before I saw Terrifier 3, and I went and saw Saturday Night, which was the new movie directed by Jason Reitman, who obviously, has some connections there, did the new Ghostbusters, also Juno. This is his newest film.
Also a Nepo baby.
Yeah, also a Nepo baby. So this is the new film. Everyone's kind of talking about this. It's about the first night Saturday Night Live aired, and just the chaos and everything. It's based off a book also. Everything I've read about it says that the movie takes like quite a few liberties. A lot of the women, the women on the cast are kind of downplayed in this. I find they don't really get the time. And when you look into it, like, a lot of the women on the cast had a lot to do with like the show actually becoming a thing. But obviously, you know, I guess, you know, they're trying to sell tickets, so they're focusing on like the big name Saturday Night Live people. Obviously, Lorne Michaels is the main, it centers around Lorne Michael on this. And it's very interesting. It's like shot all in, or it's made to look like done all in one shot, just kind of like Birdman. So they're going in and out of the studio and everywhere, but it's all one like trolley shot.
I guess it's supposed to be like really chaotic, right? Like
yeah,
that's what it kind of looked like from the trailer.
I will say this, and it's in real time. So they start, the beginning of the movie starts off like, I don't know, like 2 hours or however long this movie is, 2.5 hours. And then you're counting down the minutes till they first go to air. And, you know, that's where the movie ends. You don't know how it goes, all that kind of stuff. Some super, like, standout performances. Corey Michael Smith, who I'm a big fan of, because I was a big Gotham guy. He played the Riddler in the Gotham TV show. Also, he was in May December that came out there the other year.
Wait, who was he in May December?
He played, like, the fucked up son.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God. I got to rewatch that.
I'm a big fan of him, but he played Chevy Chase in this, and he was fantastic. A great thing they did with this is, like, the impersonations weren't, like, necessarily impersonations, so they may not exactly look like them or even sounded like them, but their essence, like, was you were like, yeah, that's Chevy Chase. And
wasn't Rachel Sennett in it?
Yeah, she plays was her name Rosie Schuster, Lorne Michaels' ex-wife, because she was like co-creator of Saturday Night Live. All right, I find she's not really in it a lot, which is a shame because she's like the second billing for this. And then another standout was Dylan O'Brien from Teen Wolf fame, who plays Dan Aykroyd.
Love Dylan O'Brien.
And he is an awesome, awesome Dan Aykroyd. And then the other big standout, J.K. Simmons, is also in this, of Juno. And he plays Milton Berry's his name. I can't remember. He's like a really famous like talk show host person. Yeah, Milton Berle. That's what I'm trying to say. So, you know,
I was wondering if that was it. Yeah.
He's in there like representing like the old school television that, you know, thinks the show is never going to be anything. And then I'll just say shout out to Matthew Rise, who plays George Carlin and looks exactly like George Carlin. Sounds like George Carlin, and just like, yeah, really amazing. This is like one of the best movies I've seen this year. I suggest everyone to go. Really gave me Blackberry vibes. If you like that movie, it's that kind of thing. Like, it seems, even though it's a big budget movie, like, it seems indie. It's just like really exciting. Best thing I've watched. That's all I've been watching. That's all I've been really doing. So with that, let's, get into our film for this evening, which is Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, or Halloween 6. We specifically watched the producer's cut, or at least two of us did. We'll talk about that later. From 1995. And why we chose this, we don't really have to go into. It's Halloween. This is your Halloween episode. Every year, we do a Halloween movie. We make it through. So this is next on the list. So this is what we're doing. So you know what? I say let's just get in the trailer, and then we'll be back with a synopsis and first experiences.
Michael Myers has come back to kill.
This year, Halloween begins early on Friday, September 29th. Evil will be unmasked. Forever. Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. This film has not yet been rated.
Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers is directed by Joe Chappelle and written by Daniel Farrands based on original writing from Deborah Hill and John Carpenter. And the synopsis is as follows. 6 years after being kidnapped by a cult, Jamie tries to escape the clutches of her serial killer uncle, Michael Myers. So, first experiences, is this our first time seeing it? Or as we say every Halloween, do you watch Halloween movies all October or at least on Halloween? Mike, we'll start with you.
Okay, well, I will say I saw this like a million years ago. Probably not exactly when it came out, but like within a few years of that. And when I tell you that it will tell you something about this movie when I have rewatched Halloween 1 and Halloween 2 and Halloween H2O literally 100 times in the last 20 years. And I have rewatched this movie exactly 0 times since then. I didn't even remember it. It's just so funny because I even bought the, like, as I was telling them earlier, like, I have the limited edition Scream Factory Blu-ray set of the whole series that they put out, like, maybe 5 or 6 years ago-ish, 7. And I think that was the first time that the producer's cut was available in high def. And so I got the box set and was like watching 1 or 2 of them. And then I was showing my nephew. He had never seen a horror movie before. And I had just got it. And he was staying at my parents' house. And I was like, oh my God, I'll show you like one of the Halloweens. And I was like, I'm not going to show you this one. I'm like, we pretend that doesn't exist. So I showed him Halloween H2O, by the way. And I just feel like it speaks volumes that I have not once even contemplated. Even though I have the full box set, I'm just like, I keep putting off, like, I know I got to watch them all. But I would keep that one in particular, that one and another one that I won't get into. I always put off watching. And it was like, literally like, okay, it's crunch time. We're recording an episode on it. I got to rewatch it. So, under duress, I rewatched it for the first time since probably the late 90s. What about you, Ro?
Yeah, I don't know if I've seen this more than once. I kind of said the last 2 years that 4, 5, and 6 were always kind of my blind spot. Because I never really thought much of them when I was a kid. It would always be 1 or 2, and then, H2O. Even like Resurrection, I've seen a couple times. And then, as you guys know, if you go back and listen to all the episodes, like, I kind of ended up liking 4. I didn't mind 5 either. Like, they kind of had their charm. But I think this is my first time revisiting this one. I don't have the special edition box set. So I just have the normal mass-produced one they did after. So yeah, we'll talk about when we get in the review. That meant that I had to piece together the producer's cut through YouTube, because the producer's cut is fairly hard to get on Blu-ray at least. So
one might say you Frankensteined it together.
Oh, so yeah. What about you, Jill?
Yeah, this is in my Halloween blind spot. So I've never seen it before. My experience with the Halloween movies is when I was like a preteen. Me and my girlfriends would go to the gas station and rent either the original Halloween H2O, or Resurrection. So those were the 3 in rotation that we watched. So I didn't really care for like the sequels that go like numerically in order. So yeah, first time.
With that, let's open up the floodgates. Let's see if we're part of the cult of Halloween 6 and, open up the review. So, yeah, let me just get it out of the way. As I said, I watched the theatrical cut in full, and then my original plan, because I didn't remember if I had the producer's cut in that Scream Factory box set. So I was like, either way, I'm going to watch both so I can kind of see what the differences were. It wasn't there. So luckily, there's quite a few channels on YouTube that have all the scenes, in a playlist, so I can watch it and put it in. And I did my research, to say, how did the music change? Like, how did they fit these in? What did they take out? So, there is some pretty big differences in what you guys fully watched and what I fully watched. Obviously, a lot of the cutting is different. The theatrical is like very, I think about, what one is it, Mike? Nightmare on Elm Street 4. Is that the one they call the MTV Nightmare on Elm Street? Or 5?
Yes, yeah,
4. And this is kind of the one they call the MTV Halloween, where it's a lot of like fast cuts, a lot of like strobe lighting, a lot of like Creed sounding music, like that low tone.
Strode lighting, if you will.
Ooh.
And, you know, the producer's cut that we're mostly going to talk about this evening, like, they don't really have that music in it. They've replaced it with the original score, or, you know, a take on the original score. That editing style is taken out, so it's a more traditional Halloween movie. It's more in line with the, you know, the other films. So I'll just put that out there. And there's also much, much more cult stuff in the producer's cut than the theatrical. So, yeah, I mean, I think the obvious place to start is, like, let's talk about the Cult of Thorn. You know, how do you guys feel about it? Obviously, we kind of, especially in 5, you know, Halloween 5 ended with the Man in Black kind of freeing Michael from jail. So, like, how did you feel about this kind of conclusion to this trilogy of, you know, these magic runes and tattoos?
I'm so over this trilogy, so, like, I'm happy that it's done. I think the cult stuff could be cool. It's just, I feel like this trilogy is kind of a mess, and it's also boring, and it's also, like, I don't know, it loses me a lot, but I think the cult could be a cool idea. It just didn't seem very linear, like, cohesive or anything.
Thought out
maybe
at
that's
all.
an editing issue.
And see, to me, this is where the differences really come in, because with the producer's cut, they definitely do their best to try to, like, explain the Man in Black and, you know, fill in the stuff that 4 and 5 is only really teased at. You don't really get any information in those 2 other films other than we start to see the symbol, you know, this Cult of Thorn. So they're really in, like, one movie trying to fill you in on all the information of what's going on. And I'll be upfront with this right now, like, and this is going to be a hot take from everything I've read on the internet, is I think I like the theatrical way better, simply because even though the cult stuff is in the theatrical, they tone it way down. It's way more mysterious. I don't have everything explained to me. And I think the explanation of the producer's cut, even though it makes it make more sense, it also kind of hurts it, because I think people are attracted to Michael Myers for this, like, pure evil. We don't know his motivation other than he's killing people in his family, all this kind of stuff.
They over-explained it.
Yeah. And then, you know, obviously with 5, we get the laughably notorious scene of, you know, him taking off the mask and, like, crying or whatever. And then with this, it's like, you know, we get zombie, I don't know, like, mind control Michael Myers, where people can control him and they're actually deciding who he kills. I still don't really get why they're, you know, they kind of talk about, Paul Rudd's character is explaining, like, the history, and they got to sacrifice, like, the family or whatever. But I'm thinking, but every Halloween he kills, like, a ton of people. So, like, if you only have to sacrifice, like, someone from your family, wouldn't they just murder, like, the one person, and then they're like, the sacrifice is done, and that's it? It's just, it's like very bizarre. Also, I don't know about you guys, I don't ever want to think of my Michael Myers as, like, a sexual being, whether that's positive or negative. Big swing in the producer's cut that we just, you know, first 10 minutes, we get some incest in there.
I have notes about this, and we need to get into it, yes.
Well, let's talk about it.
Okay, maybe it's because I was, like, right out of the gate, like, kind of, like, begrudgingly watching this, that I just missed it, but I was very confused, because at first, I have to say, I watched it, quote unquote, like, you know, when I was young. I literally remembered almost nothing about it.
Yeah.
Like, literally, it was like watching it again for the first time. I was very confused. I didn't realize that was Jamie. I completely had forgotten that.
Me too.
But
actually.
I also, it wasn't until, and I have a note like halfway through my notes where it's like, oh yeah, they were like, it's your baby. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I didn't get that hint at the beginning, but then later on they like explicitly say it's your baby. What the hell is going on there? Can we talk about this? Can someone explain this to me, please? First of all, she's like 14 or 15 years old. She was a fucking child. Like, what's happening? How is it his baby? Explain it to me like I'm an idiot.
I don't really understand. And they never really explain the timeline or anything. Because I was like, okay, like, Jamie looked...
No, because it seems like outside of her going from like a fucking 8-year-old to like a teenager, it seems like only like 6 months has passed to everybody else.
And not even a teenager. Like, I was like, to me, I was like, she looks like she's like 20-something, but I was like, that can't be.
Yeah.
Because, like...
The only reason that I didn't think she was like 20 or 21 is because they said it's been 6 years, and I was like, okay, so she's like 15 years old.
And they put the date in it, which is something the theatrical they were smart to do, is they took the date out so it didn't have a date, so that you couldn't associate it with an actual... place in the timeline, which they also in the theatrical totally cut the incest or it be Michael's kid out completely because they were like, yeah, no, that's not happening.
That's weird.
But I don't understand. Like, are they trying to make? I have so many questions about this movie. I'm going to be like this all night. Like,
are they trying to make another Michael?
Does it count?
Does
it count if they make another? Like, are they making the child to like sacrifice? Are they like? That's cheating, like, oh, let's make a baby out of incest and then use that as the, that doesn't count. It's not real. Like, also, it's
Wait a
teenager.
second.
Like, there's so much going on.
Mike,
Okay.
That's what the wildlings do in the north.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Jill, your mind. Our minds. Our minds.
Right? That's cheating, but they do it.
It is cheating. Like, it's that shouldn't count as a sacrifice. Like, it's not real. Also, it's disgusting.
Be honest about your sacrifices. If you're going to do human sacrifice, you have to be honest with it. Honesty is the best policy.
Remember that.
But yeah, I think it's a weird vibe. It's a weird vibe to have like the incest in it. And realistically, like, I know this cut is kind of lauded because it has more Jamie in it. Jamie survives longer in it, and because in the original, Jamie dies pretty much in the intro. But I'm kind of like, I don't know. They're doing Jamie wrong anyway in either one of these cuts.
It was disgusting.
So I'd rather she's just kind of in it. She doesn't.
And then gone.
She's not raped through incest. She is gone. Yeah, she's killed. She's actually killed better in the theatrical cut than the normal one because, they, in the theatrical, they do all these, like, strobe light, like, Michael in the barn. Does she see him or is he a ghost? And then he just kind of, like, pops up and, then off she goes. And, of course, they made it bloodier. I mean, this is the other issue I have is, I've always said, 2, I like Halloween 2 better than I like Halloween 1. That's my favorite one. I like the addition of a little bit of gore into it. Obviously, we're in the 90s, so, we're getting more gory. And to me, it's a little refreshing because I believe it was 5. I can't remember if it was 4 or 5, but one of those, they toned the gore way down in it again. So I think it might have been 4. So it matched up more with the original where it was more like telling, not showing.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I guess part of it was that it centered around a child.
Yeah. And a lot of the kills in this, I just think look better in the theatrical because in the theatrical, they were like, we need the gore. I was looking, the kill count, I think in the producer's cut is like 9, maybe like 7 or 9 or something. And in the theatrical, the kill count is 17.
That's so weird. Who goes, let's cut kills in a horror movie and add weird over explanation and sequences where people are just doing nothing.
Well, and it's just gnarly stuff that a kind of gore hound like me enjoys, like when he snaps the guy's neck that the truck belongs to, the Jamie pulls off in. Like in the producer's cut, he just kind of twists his neck. In the theatrical cut, you actually see like his spinal cord come out of his like neck, and it's like all bloody. Like it's cool. I'm like, oh, this is like actually pretty gory for a Halloween movie, and they do those things. And I just, like I said, the real push for the producer's cut, I think, is if you enjoy the cult stuff, or you're maybe normal, maybe I'm not normal. If you enjoy your movies to probably have more of a coherent story, then the producer's cut is for you. The theatrical,
I don't think so.
The theatrical cut, the theatrical cut makes way less sense, but to me is way more fun.
It's so funny because I said, where the fuck is all the gore? This is Halloween 6. Like, there's no gore in this. I actually made a note about that. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? I figured, like, oh yeah, the unrated producer's cut, that's 100% gonna just be like a absolute goddamn gore fest.
Yeah, this might be the only time that you see unrated on a cover, and it's not, it's actually toned down, not usually added. So to me, that's the big difference, because I do agree theatrical cut just makes way less sense. Like, if you think this story in the producer's cut doesn't make sense, the theatrical cut, because they cut all the explanation out of it, you have no idea what's going on. You know, there's like cult stuff, but you have like, you're like, what? I don't even understand what's going on here. But like I said, because I'm watching the 6th movie in a franchise from 1995, I'm on board. I'm like, this shit's crazy. Like, let's do it. How crazy can you get with number 6? What do you guys think the big starring and introducing Paul Rudd?
God. He was so bad in this movie. Like, I don't know if it's just because everything about the movie was atrocious that like even Paul Rudd couldn't save it, but I was like, Paul Rudd, his gears were still really rusty. Like, this was some like not even finished performing arts school level shit.
I got one word. Samine.
Oh God, I know.
I was like, how the hell are we gonna have a Halloween movie giving us really cool Halloween lore, and you're gonna pronounce Samhain Samine? Like, get out.
Again, well, there was no like script supervisor or anybody doing any like research. Clearly.
This there's a great documentary on this, The Body of the Sheep, I think it's called. It's it's a Scream Factory documentary. I don't know if it's on those copies or not. I saw someone referencing it when I was looking at YouTube at some stuff, and I couldn't find the documentary, but I did hear what they talked about, and they were saying like this, basically everyone involved in this talks about how there was like no script. Like, they were basically writing the script every day before they shot, and it just like, this was a disaster. Obviously, the big, which I think is a plus for everybody, even me, a big plus of the producer's cut is, we get way more Donald Pleasance, R.I.P. Donald Pleasance. This is the last film he was in. He died before this was released.
God. Listen, R.I.P. Donald Pleasance, they were Weekend at Bernie's ing him through this whole fucking thing.
Yeah,
I felt awful. I was like, he's like literally being held together by like 2 heartbeats
like
a minute.
Biden.
Yes, right, exactly. Or what's his face? Oh my God, Prince Philip or whatever. He's like that picture of him in the back of the limo, and he's like a fucking corpse. I'm like, he's 100% a dead man. He's been dead for a week. Yeah,
you could definitely tell. And like I said, this is. I love to see more of them. Obviously, there's way more explanation. He narrates the producer's cut, so the intro and stuff, where in the theatrical, Paul Rudd does all that stuff. It's not Donald Pleasance. I'm not really sure the reasoning, the switch on that. I would assume they just...
I mean, he did sound like a corpse when he was narrating, to be honest.
But this is another reason I kind of like the theatrical cut, is I think we get more punch of Donald Pleasance in the theatrical. He's not involved in the end, really. They just kind of kill him off. You don't see him, but it's kind of implied that he's killed. And I thought that was kind of like, I was like, this is kind of a send-off for him. Like, Michael finally got Loomis, and I just think extending it out in the producer's cut just like doesn't necessarily work because of obviously like how I'm assuming how sick he was when he was making this. You know, he's not doing any of the crazy. He's pure evil, you know. Like, he's not doing any of that. So, I just couldn't, I couldn't get down with that.
And that just goes back to, like, the cult thing. He's supposed to be pure evil. And I liked, that every other Halloween movie is Loomis being like, he's just evil incarnate. And when you put all this, like, backstory about a cult, it's just, like, adding stuff that you don't need.
Yeah.
I like that he's evil for no reason. It's scarier.
Yes, exactly. Like, I was doing a bit of Googling while I was watching it, and I don't know if I, like, heard this in the movie or if somebody else talked about it, but somebody made the point, I'll figure it out eventually, it's somewhere that I read this, that, it gets rid of the whole notion, which is really scary, and especially in the first few films, of, like it was fate. Like, it just, you were in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
And then that fucked your life up forever. You know what I mean? And I think that's, like, what's so scary about it. So they kind of get rid of that a little bit by, making Laurie his sister, in later movies.
Yeah.
But also, like, this completely gets rid of it because it's like, it's not random at all. Halloween 1, you think about it, the most terrifying thing about that is that, it's like, this could happen in suburbia, like, this fucking bullshit just makes that, like, just negates that altogether, right?
Yeah, and I know it's probably well explained in the film. I was really murky on what the Strode connection was here.
I don't understand.
It's not explained at all, girl. If you no.
So, because obviously we have, like, John Strode, who is, like, this, abusive asshole father. But, like, I didn't really get it. So we have this kid. I'm like, what is the relation here to the Strodes?
It takes way too long for them to explain all this, too. Because it puts you down in, like, a household of, like, 8 Strodes. And you're like, okay.
But I don't really understand, because then when John is talking to, is it Deborah? I think Deborah. Yeah, Deborah's the mom on the phone. Like, she's talking about, oh, well, your partner couldn't sell this house because they knew
it was your brother, is what she said.
Oh, I thought she said part. So they brother. So he is he's Laurie Strode's uncle, essentially. Okay, yeah.
Okay. That's the thing. When I was watching it, I was like, oh, is this her dad? Like,
which is really bizarre
because she's supposed to be dead.
Because that would make Deborah Laurie Strode's aunt.
Yeah.
And I don't know, the aunt probably would know, about this, like, mass killing of her family.
Yeah.
And, like, so it just doesn't, it just doesn't really make sense in this at all.
No, it doesn't at all.
Sell the house if he's dead.
And I was going to say, this is, like, speaking of John, this is, like, another part where people will see the difference in the theatrical and, as I throw my pen in excitement, theatrical and producer's cut, because, we have the scene with Kara's son, who I can't think of what his name was.
Dan?
Dan? Was it Danny or... Yeah, Danny.
I don't know.
I just looked it up. Danny. But basically, Danny, hears the Man in Black's voice, which I still don't really understand. Like, is he around? Like, what's going on? We see Michael outside, but I guess, some sort of witchcraft projection of voice, and he's saying, like, kill him.
Don't taint witchcraft by associating it with this shit.
But I'm saying, so he holds the knife up to this guy, and you'll see in the theatrical... In the theatrical cut, they cut out the Man in Black's voice every time it's used. So Danny actually is just holding the knife up to his stomach, and you don't know why. You're just like, oh, this kid just all of a sudden, which to me, I thought was more effective, because I was like, oh, there's something wrong with this kid. Like, he's sitting now, all of a sudden the camera pans down, he's got a knife to this guy's stomach, where, I don't know, I just thought it was really cheesy when I'm listening to this, like, overseer's voice of, like, do it, Danny, do it for him. And, like, I was just like, this is so bad. Like, I don't understand why. we do this. And also, like, even towards the end of this, I don't think I ever really needed to know who the Man in Black was. Like, they should have learned from X-Files. You don't need to know these things. Just have them in the shadows. It's weird, sure. And in the theatrical cut, they tell you who it is also. And there's still that stupid plot line of, like, oh, Loomis, we want you to take over the mantle, which I still don't understand why he thought that would happen. Like, you've known Loomis pretty much his whole life. He's, like, good, and, you know, he represents good. So, yeah, just a jumbled mess.
Yeah. And honestly, one of the quotes, I think it's John, he says, "Enough with the Michael Myers bullshit." And that's, like, my entire view of this movie. Just, like... of this trilogy.
John,
why?
A real asshole. Yeah. Unfortunately, you two watched the producer's cut, because the theatrical cut, John's death, chef's kiss, which is totally different than the producer's cut. So in the
How does he die in the regular one?
So in the producer's cut, if everyone watched that and they're listening to this episode, you know, he finds the blood in the washing machine that's obviously Deborah's, and then Michael stabs him, and basically, you know, he's like electrocuted, and then he dies.
I thought that was cool.
I was like, why isn't he getting electrocuted? He's holding the goddamn knife. Or no, it wasn't even a knife, it was a metal thing. Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
Metal thing. But listen, baby, we're taking it back to Leprechaun 3 with this one. He stabs John in the theatrical cut into the electrical box. John gets electrocuted, and then his head explodes.
Oh my!
He just like explodes, God. And I'm like, we're in the 90s, baby. That's where we are. Like, this is fantastic. Cool. Like I said, they wanted to make it gorier. They wanted to be outlandish. So I did enjoy that more. I just felt bad.
You did.
I felt bad for Deborah in general in this film. Like, Deborah.
Oh my God, I know.
Who I'm going to say up front, I thought was like the best person in this film, like in terms of acting.
1,000%. And I love Kim Darby. She was in the original True Grit. She was like the little girl.
Oh, okay.
I saw like the remake. Yeah. And she was also in a couple of like really good horror TV movies in the late 70s and early 80s. Shout out to Summer Girl and Don't Go in the Basement. Watch them. Summer Girl is especially excellent.
Also, the star Don't Be Afraid of the Dark.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's too.
Yeah. And in Teen Wolf, too. But, yeah, no.
The Queen.
I thought Deborah was, like, the best character. I was like, Deborah's serving this whole film. I don't know. I wouldn't be putting up with John whatsoever. She should have electrocuted John and, you know, blast him in the head. The Sheets, though, giving me big Stephen King It vibes from the 90s there. Which, I don't know. I find the Sheets always work. The like... sheets blowing in the wind, and, you know, someone's there, someone's not there. It just always works for me.
Everybody always has, like, 8 fucking clotheslines. Like, girl, I've only ever had 1 clothesline. Like, why are there 8 clotheslines? Like, you don't need... How many fucking beds do you have in your house that you need to clean every sheet immediately at the same time?
You don't really... I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like you don't really see clotheslines anymore like you did.
It's true, though, because everybody
you do
just...
Newfoundland.
Well, Newfoundland. I feel like more people are reliant on like dryer sheets that smell like fresh linen instead of actually hanging out your linen and making it smell fresh from, you know,
not my mom.
The air.
She is a clothesline like
mine too.
Oh, right on.
I hate it. She puts the towels out and they get all like hard.
Stiff, yeah. Oh, same thing with my mom.
Yeah. Hate it, and they're all scratchy.
I wish the producer's cut had a subplot of Deborah secretly planning his murder. And that's what she's doing in the basement. She's setting up like a trap or something, like knowing that he goes down there and she's like gonna knock him down the stairs or something. And then Michael Myers shows up and kills her and like foils the plan. But then he comes home and actually Michael doesn't kill him. He gets killed by like
the trap.
You know, her like marbles on the stairs or whatever the fuck she does. Like,
that would have been cool.
I would have been down for that, right? Yeah, like I need some like women getting revenge on shitty men in this movie, because it's just not happening. Actually, the women don't really have much to do in this movie, which is extremely annoying.
I mean, they're just there to wear crotchless panties and bark like a dog, so
Barry Sims.
I do not understand that. That character like was cognitive whiplash to me. I'm like, are you like what? Who? I didn't feel like there was layers to her. I feel like they just wrote 2 different characters and like smushed it into one in the screenplay.
I was going to say that whole scene gave me, it's been a long time since I've watched like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, but I feel like he kind of had a play on this, didn't he? Like, I feel like there's a radio host in that one, and there's like a Halloween party the town's having.
There is a Halloween party.
Yeah, so I wonder if that's influenced by this one and Barry Sims, who, honestly, I wish we kind of got more, because I was like, this is a lot of Rob Zombie movies, like radio host talking, like, he always has that vibe, and I just thought, he's disgusting, he's like politically incorrect, and I was like, we know he's gonna die, but like, this is the character that we love to die in these movies, and I liked it. This also leaded to one of my favorite scenes, which is the Red Rain scene.
Oh yeah, mommy, like.
Which, different also in theatrical and producer's cut. Producer's cut, she's singing I believe it's the producer's cut, right? She's singing Red Rain, and she's like, Red Rain, Red Rain.
Yeah, she is singing a song.
Where in the theatrical cut, she doesn't sing. She just says, Red Rain, Mom, Red Rain. And she just keeps saying it like she's in The Shining or something. And this is a scene I like better in the producer's cut, because I like the sing-songy kids singing things is creepy in general in a horror movie. So I think it works really well in this. I mean, to me, we're kind of just going along in the movie. Like, we brought up Danny quickly. I will say, even towards the end in the producer's cut, we, like, still, none of this. Danny is like a nothing character in this. He has no purpose. They kind of like, other than he hears the voice of the man in black, they bring him, to this hospital or whatever, whatever it is. Or it's Smith Grove. They're in Smith Grove.
Yeah.
But it's like, when we get there, they have Danny. They're not doing anything to Danny. Like, they're not even focused on Danny. He's literally sitting in a chair holding the baby while they do whatever.
And it's like, it just doesn't make any sense, because it's like, are they actually related to him at all? Like, I don't think. And then they're like, well, in his mind, they are family. And I'm like, okay, so now it's just, the sacrifice is based on what's in his mind, because that could be anybody.
Yeah, and obviously the producer's cut, we have Kara. Kara kind of, gets her sacrifice gown and, midsummer crown going, which in the theatrical cut, they don't take her. Like, she isn't, in the sacrifice. She's with Paul Rudd trying to figure it out. And then another big difference, which is kind of like the climax of this, is in the theatrical cut, Paul Rudd is the one that kills Michael Myers. There's a big showdown, which, I love Loomis. I like the thought of, Loomis going back and, like, he gets the rune on his hand. It's like destiny, that kind of thing. But to me, I like the theatrical cut because we've brought Tommy Doyle back. I'm like, why do we have Tommy Doyle back? And at least in the theatrical cut, it's like he gets that showdown with this.
Yeah.
With like this monster that's been haunting him his entire life. And I'm like, oh, well, this makes sense. Like, he's in this to face his demon of Michael Myers. And he basically just like, I don't know, puts green stuff from the hospital. I don't know. It's not the substance, but it's just vials of green stuff. He keeps shooting in Michael to sedate him, and then he just beats Michael senselessly with a pipe till Michael's bleeding green blood, which, super cheesy, super bad, but also pretty funny. I like, I was like, this is 90s green blood. We're already going wild with this. Why not have green blood? But like I said, I think I like that better than the producer's cut of, and I get it. The producers really wanted Donald Pleasance to have like, a finale and more of him because this was his last time. But it's like I said, I mean, it's so sloppy. I don't think it really mattered.
I literally, my last note was, it's over, ... question mark. Like, the movie just ends and then the credits come up. I was like, oh, okay, I guess so.
Yeah, it's there's really, not much to it. And obviously, we know because we lived it now that this essentially killed the franchise till they rebooted it. So, unfortunately didn't do what it would. Now, I will say, very disappointed that I like the theatrical trailer, because the people pushing for all the changes in theatrical trailer world were the Weinsteins. It was basically the producer's cut was the what's their last name? The Assads. Is that their last name? Akkad.
Akkads, yeah.
Like the Akkad family, obviously Mustafa Akkad, who's been with the franchise since the beginning, really pushed this to be like less gory. We want it to be more in the vision.
Was he dead at this point?
I don't know.
I think he was dead at this point. It was like his daughter.
Malik Akkad is credited as the main producer, who I think is his son. Yeah, so obviously they were pushing for more of a John Carpenter vision, more in line with what the other ones were. And yeah, so I'll feel disgusted for the rest of my life that I'm just over here agreeing with the Weinsteins. So, sorry, guys. So, did you guys have any other notes about this, or are we comfortable to go in the rating?
None that are fit for the air.
So, let's land the plane then. So, if you're new to the podcast, our rating system is nay, okay, yay, or slay. Jill, since you already said you didn't have a whole lot to say, what is your rating on Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, the producer's cut?
I am going to give Halloween 6 an okay, because it is a movie. It is a Halloween movie.
It is a movie that existed.
And I feel like if you're a Halloween fan, you owe it to yourself to watch them all. And even if they're not significantly good at all. And yeah, I don't think I'll ever probably watch it again, but, I just feel like I have to watch it because it's part of the whole franchise. I feel like I kind of shat on it a lot. It's not terrible, I guess, but some parts are terrible. It's a movie. It's okay. It's an okay. Rowan, what say you?
This is kind of difficult because, we're talking about the producer's cut, and like I said, so comparing them for the producer's cut, I'm gonna give it an A. I really don't like the pacing of the producer's cut. I don't like the added stuff. To me, it's already nonsensical. So it being even more nonsensical, cut fast, lesser runtime, gorier, just being a crazy ass 90s slasher movie. You know what? When I'm in number 6 of a franchise, it's not like I'm expecting this to have gone very well. Like, franchises always go off the rails. So let's just, go off the rails. So this is because my guess is we're probably, unless, in 30 years we're still recording and we're running out of material here, we're probably not going to come back to the theatrical cut, or unless, I don't know, one of us is angry at the other and we're like, let's just make them watch this again.
Time for punishment.
But to me, if this was the theatrical cut, I would have given it okay. I had a good time watching the theatrical cut. I love John Carpenter's score, but the movie was even crazier and funnier with this 1995 grunge, adult contemporary rock in the background and stuff. I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, for the producer's cut, it's not for me. Like I said, this is not for most people. I think this is kind of universally considered the least favorite of most people's in the entire franchise, which is funny because I'd say this is probably the most used artwork for anything they promote Halloween. If you're going into a Hot Topic or something like that, a lot of the times the Curse of Michael Myers is what shirts and hats and backpacks, this is the art they use. So I just think it's funny that it, used a lot, especially the poster artwork. But yeah, probably the least favorite. So yeah, nay for me on this producer's cut. What about you, Mike?
Okay, so maybe if I ever watch it, which I never will, I would probably like the theatrical cut better, because from what you're saying, it does sound like it kind of negates some of the problems that I had with this, but I didn't. I watched the producer's cut. I will say it was definitely one of the worst movies I've ever watched in my life, and that is saying something. And my issue, like, okay, so it's in the Halloween franchise, but it's just, to me, you could skip over it and not miss a beat. Like, you know, like, if you if you sat someone down with, like, the box set and then took this out of it and just let them watch them all in a row, you would never, like, they would never know that it existed, and they wouldn't care, and they wouldn't miss anything. And you can say the same thing about 3, but 3 is really interesting and cool.
Yeah.
This one is not. And some of my issues were like, okay, first of all, the mask was awful.
Yeah,
like,
we didn't even talk
that was
about
not William Shatner. That was I don't know what that was. That was Dollarama.
It was weird
Myers
too,
mask.
because it, like, I thought in some scenes it looked pretty good, but any close-ups of them,
it
like,
was really ill-fitting.
It's
and, like,
ill-fitting,
you could see
and
in the eye holes.
I felt like the guy playing Michael Myers was also, like, pretty short. Like, you could tell in a lot of the close-ups, which I do know when I read some of the producers cut stuff. They actually, towards the end, switched out Michael's, and they had a taller, leaner guy play him for reshoots.
Switch out the main like lead villain of your movie. Like, why not? That's just like perfecto.
I mean, we got blonde hair in the other one, so
I mean, you're right. Yeah, but like, okay, so it made no sense. I hated the story. It over-explained everything. There was like weird incest rape shit. Like, I couldn't put up with any of that. But then on top of it all, like, again, maybe this is a quirk with the producer's cut, it didn't even have like a lot of gratuitous sex and insane violence in that cut. And I'm like, literally, like, that might have, like, you know, spiced it up a little bit and made me like a little bit more interested in like a superficial way, but it didn't even have that. I'm like, there was no draw from here. I'm like, there's nothing. Give me something to chew on. There's nothing. It gave me less than nothing. And then I realized there's a reason why I haven't rewatched it in 20 years. So, nay, as long as it's like a nay as long as the day is long. Like,
we'll continue to forget that, or try to forget that this exists.
Yes, exactly. Like Paul Rudd, like the fact that Paul Rudd couldn't save this, and he's very charming. Like, Kim Darby's in it, she couldn't save it. It's like, this is just, it's a lost cause as far as I'm concerned. I do think I will say this. I feel like completionists and stuff should watch it, and it is notable for like its weird quirk in the Halloween universe.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, like in terms of like horror history and like people who are interested in the franchise, obviously you should watch it, but like you're not going to enjoy it. You just watch it for like archival. You're like, okay, I've watched this, I have this in the can, it's fine, now I can move on and never watch it again.
That's exactly how I feel.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, checked off a list.
Yeah. Like, watch it once, so you said, I watched it, I know what I'm talking about, I don't want to watch it again.
Yeah.
And, you know, sadly, this episode, you know, this is our first Halloween episode. We didn't have Exilia on, but I'm sure the review wouldn't be great for her. She sat down, watched it with me, and I think she fell asleep like 15 minutes in, so.
Classic.
She didn't miss anything. She woke up during the credits and could probably tell you more.
Yeah,
about the movie
basically she saw it, and you know, to me, it's like she fully watched it for the episode. I call that a classic Exilia watching of a movie for the podcast. So,
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 days and an okay, you know, that actually,
and it's a very generous
okay from Jill.
Yeah.
So we told you what we thought about it, and we asked what you thought about it. And you know what? People don't like this movie so much that we had one response come in from Jill's brethren, the Mouths of Madness. They wrote in and said it has one of the best atmospheres and one of the scariest versions of Michael. I am so sorry.
That's Kevin. He loves this movie, and he told me to be gentle with it.
Kevin.
And I'm sorry, Kevin.
That's why you gave it an okay. It all makes sense now, Jill. Oh my God, called out, Jill.
Don't tell him.
This is a pity, okay? Everybody know that it's really an A.
It's actually essentially an A. Yeah,
yeah. And,
whatever.
And you know what? I'm interested, Kevin, to know your opinion on like producer's cut, theatrical cut, because I would agree the theatrical cut has like interesting atmosphere and. They build Michael up with all the cutting and things they do in the theatrical cut that make him like kind of almost like a ghost. A lot of people seeing him, but he's not there, but then he actually is there. So I'm interested what your opinions on like the producers and theatrical cut. So you'll have to get back to us and let us know that. So yeah, let's go over the horrific hotline. We have Nicholas, as always. He wrote a little message with it that said, here's the voice message for Halloween 6. What a movie. But now you're at least more or less halfway done with the franchise, with a few bangers and one absolute shit show yet to be covered. So I'm interested to find out what one that is. And I will say, Nicholas, I saw he had a question for Colton. I'll save it till Colton is back. And I'll ask the question to him. It was about something different that isn't Halloween related. So I will save that. And so let's go over and hear what Nicholas has to say.
Okay, so first things first. Halloween 6. The Curse of Michael Myers is a terrible movie. There are two versions, like a theatrical version and a producer's cut. I am actually not sure which version I watched a few days ago. I'm pretty sure that I have watched both versions over time. Again, terrible movie. Am I thinking about giving it an okay? Yes. Why? Because I think for all its weirdness and all its out there takes and its overall shittiness, it is an enjoyable watch, or at least for me, it is way more enjoyable than Halloween 5. Which you did last year. The Stones, Paul Rudd, the Man in Black, and why has Michael Myers so many family members that we've never heard about until now? It's all shit. It is basically a disgrace, especially to the first movie, but it kind of keeps going and has a lot of different sets and different ideas. But now thinking about it, I'm not sure if I can give it an okay. Let's put it between an A and an okay.
Yes.
Just because I had a somewhat decent time watching it, and in a Halloween rewatch, this is not the movie I would skip, because it's always fantastic to see just what the franchise became within 6 movies, starting with a grounded, more or less serial killer in the first one and ending up with whatever the Cult of Thorn actually is, and druids and stones and Paul Rudd. So let's say the strongest of nays, scratching on a very weak okay, just for the movie being so bad. It is not good, but okay again. And for me it lands on the just above Halloween 5 and Halloween Resurrection. Those two are abominations, and this one is slightly above that.
What?
I don't know how Mike's gonna feel about that Tyra Banks slander.
Girl,
we're not there yet.
You know I love Tyra. You know I love my top model, but that is one of the only movies in my entire life that I got up before the movie was even offered to leave. I was like, I can't do this. Also, I love how that whole message was essentially Nicholas's version of Jill sitting there going, it's a movie. It's a movie. He's like, it's a Halloween movie that exists.
We're trying to justify it, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you want to leave a message on the horrific hotline like Nicholas, you can do so by just sending us a message. Send us a voice message at itslayspodcast@gmail.com, or you can inbox it to any of our social media. Basically, as long as you get us a voice note, we'll figure out a way to play it on the podcast. And it doesn't have to be about the movie we just reviewed. If you're listening to this episode or any other episode, beforehand, you might want to talk about, I don't know, My Bloody Valentine that we did in year 1, or a movie we haven't talked about, and you just want to, know our opinions, or you had questions in general, you can submit it. If you're not following us on any of our social media, do so at It Slays Podcast. We're pretty much everywhere. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Slasher, Letterboxd, Threads, Bluesky, Tumblr. I don't know, anywhere. If there's a social media, we're probably on it, or we're going to be on it at It Slays Podcast. And Jill, do you want to tell the people how they can become a lovely, lovely horror hound?
Of course. If you'd like to join the ranks of our horror hounds like Holly, Nicholas, Patrick, Mark, Sacrotype, Joy, Dan, Brian, Trevor, and James, head on over to patreon.com/itslayspodcast and choose the tier that works best for you. Perks include 48-hour early access to episodes of this main show and access to our Patreon exclusive show, Stream Screams, hosted by Rowan and I, as well as the ability to pick a movie for us to review. Now, Rowan, tell me, what's it going to be? Is it going to be the modernized John Carpenter theme music making it in to the spooky playlist, or is it going to be 90s butt rock?
Maybe both. I don't know. We'll see how silly I'm feeling. We'll get something up on there, though, for it. But yeah, go to Spotify, go to the It Slays Podcast, horrific playlist. If you have any problems finding it, you can go to any of the social media I mentioned just before. Click on the Linktree link that's in the bio, take you directly there. We upload scores or licensed music from iconic horror movies we review, or just horror movies we love. So, follow it. I update it pretty regularly. It's spooky season. So, get your spooky music on, because why the hell not? And before I get to the upcoming episode, I just had another thing I wanted to promo, because this will be coming out on Sunday. But if you live in Nova Scotia, October 30th at the Cineplex in Lower Sackville, TerraVision is doing a viewing of the original Halloween, and we are sponsoring it. So I will be in the building, and we'll be giving away t-shirts. I've got a bunch of stickers. Also giving away Blu-rays and DVDs. Also, a whole bunch of, horror movies, iconic horror movies to give away. So yeah, go grab it. I think the tickets are they're under $20, and you can get them on Eventbrite. Every time they do one of these, we sponsor. But yeah, go check it out if you haven't got a ticket already, because we will be there. And then I also just wanted to say that by the time you listen to this, the new Stream Screams will finally be out. I just finished editing Bury the Bride finally, that we recorded forever ago.
Nice.
So you'll get to hear me and Jill talking about Spider-1 and the zombie family and the movies they make. But all that is left is to announce our upcoming film. And guess what, guys? It's my pick. And all I can really say for the pick is, we're the Dream Warriors. That's right. I'm doing this one for Mike. Nightmare on Elm Street 3. I said, why not keep the franchise stuff going? Dream Warriors. I swear this has been on our list since like year 1.
Literally, when we made our lists before we even started doing this was on all of them.
Exactly. So we're finally getting to it. So yeah, get Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors into your eye holes, and we'll be back in 2 weeks with that. Hopefully you all have a lovely Halloween. Happy Halloween, everybody. I'm your humble host, Rowan.
Bye, it's Mike.
Bye, it's Jill.
See you later.